Veterans and community members gathered in Marietta's West Side this morning to remember and honor the men and women of the armed forces who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their country. The Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 5108 led a parade from the old Harmar Elementary School to Harmar Cemetery, where the VFW held a ceremony commemorating veterans who lost their lives. VFW Commander Timothy Gillen-Walters delivered an address in tribute of the heroic dead, and other VFW members laid a wreath and other items at an unmarked grave representing the resting place of the members of the armed forces who lost their lives. Gillen-Walters says the ceremony is an important way to keep the memory of those veterans alive.
They paid the price. Some of them did not make it back here. As we know, we're still missing some from different wars. We're still finding some of those bodies still today, and we're still going to those funerals to pay tribute to our fallen comrades.
Gillen-Walters added that it's important for younger generations to learn about the sacrifices of veterans who lost their lives. The ceremony ended with a gun salute and the performance of taps.